Hey guys, here we are. You'll have to let me know in the comments if this is working okay and the sound is okay. We've got some nice background music going here from Lucid. Looks and sounds good. Excellent. Thanks, Carlos. Are those chats popping up on the screen okay as well? Awesome. Ooh, it looks like they're starting on time.
Silicon Valley, California. It's a really thrilling day for me to present the company and our first product, Lucid Air. When I joined the company 7 years ago, I did so with a clear mission, and that mission was to take the electric car to the next level. I felt that there was so much more potential in electrification, which was yet unfulfilled. And we're really close now to fulfilling that mission with the launch of Lucid Air, which is going into production in our plant in Arizona, spring 21. What really excites me today is that we'll, for the first time, show the whole lot.
I think the audio is also messed up on the actual stream.
We'll see the fusion of the art and the science, the technology, all coming together in an incredible product which will offer the customer so much more. Luxury and comfort, incredible performance, unrivaled range, so much space, just the volume of the frunk. And the HMI, it's a real beautiful piece of art, but the technology that underpins it is just out of this world. And what excites me is our technology is designed in such a way that it's truly mass producible. A battery pack, our motors, our inverters are designed for mass production. And that means that we can cascade this technology down through price ranges, and the man in the street will benefit. But you know, ultimately, all mankind will benefit because we all breathe this air. This is truly a team sport. It's not me, it's the 1,001 people behind me. My role is to catalyze all that brain power, fuse it together and create a methodology and a steely determination that we're going to do this.
We all start somewhere. No one is born with a blueprint for their journey. It's the building blocks we first play with that give life its shape, where purpose reveals itself and the pursuit begins in earnest. There's no legacy to prop us up, but then there's no legacy holding us back. We find our own footing, hitch a ride on a distant dream, and just go. Uncertain of what we'll encounter along the way. The people we meet, the challenges we face, the memories we make, the obstacles, and the breakthroughs. Searching for a window in a wall, then discovering a door to open. Not even our own doubts, or those who doubted us, stand a chance.
Season 5, first race.
Momentum is a stubborn friend.
Smile, start of the season.
Like explorers who eternally seek a new horizon, we anticipate risk. We push past fear. Everyone stumbles when they climb a mountain, but not everyone can imagine the view from the summit.
I'm full of doubt, when I'm wrapped with fear and looking for a bridge just to get me out of here. Been looking far and wide, better to look me up and down and decide.
From the very beginning, our core mission was to accelerate the adoption of electrification and really take the electric vehicle to the next level, and in doing, take the automobile to the next level. This idea of if we make this vehicle compelling enough and amazing enough, and we take away any obstacle in our consumer's mind of whether or not electric car is a good thing for them. That's the goal, that's the mission, is really to accelerate that adoption and make the best car in the world. When we were first thinking about the design of the car, I really wanted to create this vehicle that is effortlessly sleek, seamless, something that just flowed through the air without being overly aggressive. And through that vision, we came up with this idea of a jet, an aircraft. So early on, we started working towards this very clean design and really simplify the vehicle down to its very core essence. The car really has just one line that goes all the way around, and that became this key defining feature, and all the other details play off of that one line. At the front of the car, we have this incredible light blade, and that's really enabled by our micro lens array. That allows the lights to be very simple and very linear. So we start at that front line and we bring it all the way through the fender, right up the side of the car and around the rear of the car into the taillight signature. This is enabled by the fact that we have our shut lines around the side of the vehicle rather than down the back. That allows us to have a single piece taillight from one side to the other. In fact, this is the largest taillight ever, and that helps create this seamless aesthetic. To me, it's really important to be bold through simplicity. One of the advantages Lucid has is our drivetrain components are incredibly compact and very power dense. What that allows us to do is think completely different about the space of the vehicle. In our case, we push all those components down and away and give all that extra space to the passenger compartment, and creates a very unique paradigm where we're larger on the inside and more compact on the outside. We're really redefining what a luxury sedan can be. As a result, we've been able to create this incredible front trunk, or frunk, and we're proud to say it's the biggest frunk ever made. It's got a double-decker storage, a fold-away cargo cover, and it really becomes an additional bonus of our space concept. The trunk of the Lucid Air is really split into two levels. The upper level is for larger objects, as well as longer objects, for example, like a surfboard, where you can utilize the split seat and allow incredibly long cargo capacity for the rear. In addition to the upper storage, we also have this second tier of storage down below underneath the bifold cover. And if you combine those two together, plus the frunk, you end up with a cargo capacity that is much greater than a traditional sedan and is more in line with what you would get with an SUV or crossover. Once we established this incredible space concept, we knew we had to think differently about the passenger compartment, so we really divided it into two zones. The front of the vehicle is meant to be more sporty. Typically, we do that in darker colors. As you work your way to the back of the vehicle, this is meant to be a more relaxing environment, and so those areas are always done in lighter, brighter colors to create this duality between the front of the vehicle and the back of the vehicle. We're going to offer two versions for the rear seating. The first version that we launch with will be a bench seat. We're also going to offer an executive rear seat, This will recline 45 degrees and take full
Seats are so
advantage of the
interesting to me.
Lucid Air's rear space. In addition to this lounge space, we have this incredible glass canopy. And this is this whole idea of letting light into the vehicle and create a very open and airy experience. With this overall minimalist simplicity of the interior, it was really important that every detail had this feeling of quality and craftsmanship and care. And that's all about how you apply the materials to particular surfaces. It's important that the metal look and feel like metal, and how it interacts with the wood feels quality, feels intrinsically valuable. And it's that combination that really gives you that feeling of high craftsmanship.
I've always been drawn to sort of the beauty of objects and what makes something remarkable. The quality of the build. It's not just the materials themselves, but really how they all come together. That's been a very important philosophy of how we work. What makes something good design is creating with passion, creating with care, the fit and finishes, and attention to details. We're literally measuring the pitch of the stitch, the weight of the thread, the suppleness of the leather, how deep is the logo debossed into the metal, how it feels to run your hand along the wood, that it actually feels like wood. We're always looking at those little minute details, things that people probably don't even really think about. When I first started at Lucid, we didn't really know who we were in a lot of ways, but we knew we were a California company. It became a very natural fit for us to think about doing interiors and themes that were in very specific locations within California at very specific times of the day, and how the light would look like at those locations. The lighting in California is like no other. We looked at the day as a 24-hour period, and we started out at the beginning of the day in Santa Monica. Mid-morning, it was Big Basin. At noontime, it was Santa Cruz. Sunset, it was Tahoe. And then near midnight, it was Mojave Desert. They all had very specific and really beautiful lighting conditions that lent themselves to us starting to talk about what would these color combinations be and how could we incorporate this idea. We decided to have our Dream Edition developed in the Santa Monica theme. It was really about imagining Santa Monica when the sun hasn't quite risen yet. It's very misty and foggy, and you're looking sort of this nebulous haze of grays and whites.
Yeah, me today.
We developed this beautiful graphite gray along with the ceramic white interior. We have silvered eucalyptus, which is an ode to driftwood. Santa Monica is the first part of the day. It's an awakening, a starting point, and that just lent itself to our first introduction. It was this perfect, natural connection.
Once we established this overall feeling of space in the interior, we put a big emphasis on the displays, and we knew it wasn't about having the most displays or the largest displays. It was about what's the optimal position and form factor for the driving experience. As a result, we came up with this 5K floating display that is completely curved, optimizing the view and touch for the driver, as well as the view out to the road. In addition, we have a large center console display that is optimally placed for both driver and passenger, and it retracts into the center console and exposes a large storage area up front. We also have an incredibly large center console. This has docking for inductive charging and phones, as well as 2 additional large storage compartments, which is very unique for a vehicle in this class. Even though there was a huge focus on our displays and the touch interface, we still wanted to find that balance of the analog tactile experience. So we put a lot of focus on the steering wheel and how the roller toggles feel in your hands, as well as the center console controls. All of this still celebrates that mechanical feeling and the physical touch of the vehicle. It's so important to balance the digital with the mechanical. When thinking about the Lucid in-car user experience, we realize that our customers are used to a very easy device interaction with the consumer products in their lives. And once they get in a modern vehicle, That experience was broken. At Lucid, we really wanted to try and close that gap. As a result, our focus was really on this idea of simplicity, ease of use, and intuitiveness, and really having an empathy for our customer that would ensure the time in the car was time well spent. To enhance this, we knew the user interface had to have a certain elegance about it. That meant a real focus on color, on tone, and layering to create a certain ambience inside the vehicle that even integrated into the ambient lighting, enhancing the overall beauty of Lucid Air. This environment is further enhanced by our immersive audio system, completely engineered and developed in-house, with 21 speakers around and above you and over 800 watts of power. Along with our partners, we're bringing a true spatial sound experience that isn't available in any other vehicle today. So the Lucid UX experience actually starts outside the car in our very unique Lucid app. This app will allow you to precondition the vehicle.
Very unique.
Set a navigation route, check your charge status, and even check upcoming charge locations. The app is tied to your Lucid ID, so as you approach the vehicle, it knows it's you, the lighting sequence is activated, the car unlocks, and the door handles present themselves. Once you get inside the vehicle, the car confirms that it's you through facial recognition. This activates all your presettings and then loads the trip you just planned.
Alexa, lock the front door.
The front door is locked.
You can use natural voice commands through Alexa to play music, set a stop on your navigation, or even check your calendar and appointments. One of our key features is something we call application flow. When you activate navigation, music, or phone, you get key information and functionality up above. When you swipe down, that opens the full application on the screen below. The center display is also where you activate climate control and HVAC features, as well as settings. We've enabled over-the-air updates, which allows it to stay cutting edge and refreshed over time. The digital customer journey is designed to be seamless from web to retail to application to overall in-car experience. We want our customers to feel like we've anticipated their needs without needlessly complicating anything. It goes without saying, we're all really proud of the design and key features that we brought into the Lucid Air, but this has only been made possible by incredible engineering and true innovation with our in-house technologies.
Doing everything in-house is a belief-based philosophy, and to achieve that, you really need to attract the most brilliant engineers and designers in the world. So to enable the space concept to work, there's an old adage, if you want to break the rules, first you have to master them. So it required mastery of the 5 key elements of electric cars, electric powertrain, and we do all that in-house. So the battery, motor, transmission, power electronics or inverter, and software. It's this inflection point of hardware, software, art and science that really becomes fulfilled in our first product, the Lucid Air. To miniaturize, but to improve the efficiency at the same time. That is a really tough thing to pull off. You could do one or the other, but to combine the two, that's what I'm really proud of. So really, perhaps if we were to distill one key metric for the prowess of an EV company, surely it would be range. And I'm really delighted that Lucid Air has been independently validated as achieving over 500 miles as an EPA estimate. But you know, there's something which is more underlying than range itself, and that is efficiency. Because really, anyone can go and stuff a huge battery in an electric car and get a huge range. That's dumb range. What we want to do is create smart range. And why I'm thrilled that we've got over 500 miles is because we've done it with a significantly smaller battery pack. We are over 15% more efficient than the nearest competitor. So Lucid Air is achieving over 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really unprecedented for a car of that level of luxury and interior size. Now, driving from here in the Bay Area down to Los Angeles and from New York to Washington, D.C. is a true reality. And I like to think of it as goodbye range anxiety and hello range confidence. I'm particularly proud of our battery pack for so many reasons. First of all, it's very sculpted and forms part of the crash structure and envelope of the car. The underside of our pack is just gently curved, forms part of the aerodynamic diffuser of the car. So our pack influences the range of the car, not just by the batteries that are in it, but because of its curved shape, makes the car more aerodynamic to side through the air more cleanly and get more range that way. But there's a whole other dimension to this. Its sheer manufacturability is a breakthrough. Our pack is designed like Lego bricks, designed for mass production. That keeps the costs down. It means that we can have a higher quality solution, more reliable. Looking ahead, it can apply to smaller, more affordable cars. And that's very much part of the Lucid dream and vision. Then we look at the core technology in that pack. The thermal technology is a breakthrough. We have a thermal system which is much more reliable, much more dependable, and more efficient than our nearest competitor. It's also more compact. We have a pack which can take 300 kilowatts of fast charge over 900 volts. No one else has that. This is a groundbreaking. We've developed the right cell chemistry with our cell supply partners, a unique design of cell for Lucid Air. So the pack is a multi-dimensional, multifunctional, integral part of the core architecture of the vehicle. A really big part of our battery pack technology is our BMS, or battery monitoring system. And it's so instrumental in monitoring the health of the battery. But BMS does so much more than that. It helps our thermal management, and it helps the life expectancy of the pack. And it is a significant contributor to range efficiency. I'm particularly proud that over the last 2 years, Lucid, under its Ativa technology wing, has been the official supplier for all 24 cars in the world's premier electric race car series, the World Championship. That pack was created, conceived, engineered, developed, and is actually manufactured here in this very building. And that pack really transformed the sport. We offered double the capacity of its predecessor. It allowed, finally, a car to run a complete race distance with a single charge. We've had 0 failures. We've had 100% reliability. We've accrued so much knowledge that that technology that we've developed and finessed on the racetracks is now finding its way directly into the Lucid Air, and everyone who drives a Lucid will know that underneath their feet is race-proven battery technology.
Nice
the
marketing angle
surprising
right there.
thing here is the performance of the car. And I may like fast cars, but honestly, I didn't set out to create a car as fast as Lucid Air. I set out to create a car with amazing range that was really going to change the world. Even with my desire to make that range happen with the smallest pack imaginable, even with great efficiency that we've got, we still need a relatively large pack. And the byproduct of that is, if you've got a relatively large amount of energy, you end up with a relatively large amount of available power. So all we needed to do was make our motors and inverters and the rest of the system large enough to actually use that power that's available. And you might think we'd end up with unduly inefficient other elements. No, this miniaturization process and this relentless search for efficiency has resulted in the rest of the system being minute, and yet, unbelievably, we have over 1,000 horsepower. I'm particularly proud of the motor that we'd developed in-house because it's done 2 things. We've miniaturized it, and at the same time, we've made it super efficient and power dense. And that's really a rare combination. We've been able to achieve that because we've got some real joined-up thinking between motor and transmission team. In fact, they're not 2 separate teams. They operate together as a single team because we think of the motor and transmission here at Lucid as a single inertial system. And that's led to quite a breakthrough. Our motor systems are complete units. That's electric motor, transmission, differential, and inverter. That is a unit just this size. It weighs 73 kilos and is up to 500 kilowatts. There is nothing else in the marketplace even close to that. Now, because our motors are so compact, we're able to fit them in different configurations within the car. We can fit 1, 2, or 3, each of which is 600 horsepower. But this is the beauty of this sort of joined-up thinking, and this is all synergistic with the space concept. So we've spoken a lot about how we've reduced the size of the power units, but the space concept extends beyond that. We have a very innovative heating, ventilation, air conditioning system, a HVAC. We have 2 independent blower channels to feed air into the front of the cabin and the expansive rear of the cabin. Conventional car has a single blower, which is often a noisy thing, inside the cabin with the occupants. We've got 2 blowers outside of the cabin, and they fit neatly integrated right above the front power unit. And this gives space not just for the occupants, but it creates a space concept for the frunk, which is unparalleled in its volume. And in fact, we can fit the volume of 4 competitor EVs' frunks, all in our single frunk with litres to spare.
Not only do we develop HVAC systems and thermal systems fully in-house, we actually develop a whole host of cutting-edge technologies and systems with an absolute industry-leading expert team. One to mention would be our 12-volt, highly redundant Ethernet architecture, and that ensures redundancy for data management. Not only have we built a hardware-based security into our gateway controllers, but the high-bandwidth Ethernet and code structure that we are using for the message transfer ensures that we are a very safe network. At the core of our Dream Drive system, we have a host of 32 ADAS sensors built into the car. That's comprised of ultrasonic sensors, radar sensors, and a industry-first high-definition LiDAR system that generates a very high-res point cloud that we can use to identify objects in front of the vehicle. We fuse this data from this high-res LiDAR with the data we are getting from the radars and the cameras and create a realistic and redundant space for the vehicle to find its path in. We also have a camera inside the car, a driver monitoring system. The key benefit is that the car knows where the driver is looking and whether he's attentive and can take over in tricky situations. On top of that, the driver monitoring system enables comfort features that would be driven by facial recognition. Part of the Dream Drive system is, of course, a state-of-the-art park assist system that lets you hands-off park into tight parking spots with no fear of scratching your rims. Like all features in the Lucid Air, we can update the whole Dream Drive experience over the air over time with potential to grow into a full autonomous driving system and keep the system fresh, attentive, and state-of-the-art. And it'll be standard on the Dream Edition of the Lucid Air. In addition to the active safety that we are covering with Dream Drive system, we have focused a lot of attention and ingenuity on developing a super safe passive safety system. And that's comprised of a very safe passenger cell. We have developed a comprehensive airbag and seatbelt suite that will achieve 5-star safety rating in the US NCAP safety rating standards. I'm particularly proud that we've been able to re-engineer a headlamp completely. We're using our micro-lens array optical system. A key benefit of these micro-lens arrays is also that we can maintain a very high level of efficiency of energy that we convert into light. Miniaturizing the light module enables us to have the slimmest light output aperture in the industry. On top of that, it's also the most luminant light. It's super bright. A further innovation is a solid-state swiveling high beam, and we've got thousands of little optical channels that distribute the light super evenly onto the road in front of the driver. And with that projection of thousands of images on top of each other, we actually achieve the most homogeneous headlight of any car out there. That was only possible because we have a stellar in-house optical engineering team. It's a completely rethought technology approach to a headlamp. Another aspect that's fully developed in-house is our 924-volt architecture, and that enables us to develop components that are both very, very efficient and also very, very powerful. The advantages of having a 900-volt architecture is that we can actually charge the car really, really fast. And that brings me to our fully in-house developed onboard charging system, the Wunderbox, as we call it. The Wunderbox is a real miracle, as Wunder stipulates. Traditionally, the systems we have integrated into the Wunderbox would be all separate. By integrating them into one housing, ultra-compactly packaged, we've managed to give that space back to the occupant. It is ultra-efficient by using silicon carbide chip technology for the switching, and we've actually tied it into the crash structure of the vehicle. We can charge with this Wunderbox up to 924 volts. We have a built-in DC-DC converter that provides 400 volts to vehicle systems. And one of the most customer important systems, I feel, is the bidirectionality that we've built into our Wunderbox. Not only can we charge the car from your house, the car can also supply power to your house, which is a whole new world of features. This will enable you to use the car as a battery system. In case you have a power outage at your house, your car will keep the lights on. Because every Lucid Air has this bidirectionality built in, we can use one Lucid Air to charge up a second Lucid Air. And that leads me also to our stationary battery storage systems, the ESS systems that we are developing for your home. And we are reusing our battery module technology and the power electronics technology to make super efficient home battery systems. On top of our home battery systems, we are developing product lines that can be used in businesses as a backup battery storage or on a utility scale. So the Wunderbox enables us to charge very, very fast on level 3 charging, which is the latest high power charging standard. It also enables us to use lower voltage infrastructure that is deployed at 400 volts, and the Wunderbox boosts that voltage up to the vehicle voltage. In partnering with Electrify America, we are taking advantage of the vast investment that they have made in charging infrastructure throughout the whole country. We have built in complete convenience by integrating with their systems and enabling plug-and charge. They have chargers that can deliver up to 1000 volt. That enables us to put a lot of power into the car and charge very, very fast. The first owners will receive 3 years of unlimited charging on the Electrify America network nationwide.
Awesome 3-year graphic.
At Lucid, our engineers always push to the limits. And that is on the range front, eking out every last mile out of the energy of the car, as well as performance development. And the Lucid Speed team has been tirelessly developing the performance of the vehicle from a powertrain performance perspective, the vehicle, the chassis, suspension setups, tirelessly being tuned to give the customer the ultimate driving experience.
Good morning, everyone. This is Lucid Motors heading out for the morning. Track is green.
Let's do it. I just won Formula Drift and the lap contest. We have
It's not that, that's just my face.
Monster.
We looked for over 60 sites in 13 states, and we found that Arizona is a perfect place to build a factory. It is very important to start your factory from the scratch and wrap it around the product you have and wrap it around the processes you want to build there. So once you start to build a greenfield factory, it's the best approach ever, because otherwise you create waste. And the factory will not be perfect like it should be to be efficient, cost-effective, and quality-driven. Our factory is the first greenfield EV factory in North America, and I'm very proud to be part of that. It will be the fastest factory built within 8 months and some weeks to get the first cars out there. This is really astonishing. This factory is super unique because it is wrapped around the 10-year plan. So what you see now is just plan phase number 1, and the paint shop is the cornerstone of this factory, and we built the factory around this. So this factory can scale tenfold, which is, as I know, never has been done before. It can go up to 60 jobs per hour within 10 years, and yep, that will happen. I'm proud of my team. They are experts on their topic, and I have to keep up with them. That's hard. It's hard work because they're brilliant. They believe in what we are doing together and what we want to achieve and where we want to go. There are 2 factories. We have in Casa Grande also a powertrain factory. So we are building the core of our car, which is the technology from the very beginning to the end, and deliver it to the main factory so the team can build that into the car. This is the core competence that we built up there because this is a very highly automated and very precise manufacturing method to get that done. And if you want to build a luxury vehicle without quality, there's no way. You need quality in your processes, in your design, in your product, in everything you do. And so we're starting the factory with a quality-driven wrap. We will not hit numbers because we want to hit numbers. That doesn't make sense in a luxury segment. We will hit quality achievements and quality goals and move forward. And once we hit them, then we can create higher numbers. That is the path, how we want to move forward and make a community of Lucid fans who are super convinced of our products, of our story, of our culture, of what we believe is important for our planet and for our community. Our approach was to put all the love and care that we put into the Lucid Air into our retail experience, and we refer to those as studios. We wanted it to be totally different than your traditional automotive dealership. We took inspiration from mid-century architecture and really brought that ambiance and warmth into the space to make it almost feel like a living room, so our customers feel completely immersed in the Lucid experience. Our first studio and service center outside the Lucid headquarters is established in Beverly Hills, California. That is just the first of 20 that we'll establish throughout North America throughout 2021. We know that consumers want to have a direct relationship with the brands that they love, and we want to enable that in every single touch point, whether that's a completely online digital sales experience or one that is in our showroom and personal. So the overall store experience is meant to be very immersive, and it's also meant to be a continuation of the online experience. So we wanted to reinvent the online configurator. We looked towards video games for inspiration to create a more immersive, more rendered experience. A consumer can go online, compare the base Lucid Air to the touring level as well as grand touring level, and see all the trim variations in between. Save it out on their Lucid ID, then at a later time, visit a studio, present their Lucid ID, and have that same configuration experience on our virtual reality platform. In addition to the virtual experience, they'll also be able to have the physical experience. They'll be able to touch and feel all the key materials in all the different configurations that are available for Lucid Air. Each studio will be equipped with a full display of our battery, motor, inverter, and Wunderbox. That way they can learn what's at the very heart of the Lucid Air.
We're going to launch Lucid Air with a remarkable version, the Dream Edition. And unashamedly, it's my personal choice of car. It's got over 1,000 horsepower, giving it a 0 to 60 time in under 2.5 seconds and a standing quarter in 9.9. And because it achieves this with the most unsurpassed efficiency, the car has remarkable range as well. So this car has performance and range in a unique fusion. Dream Edition will come in 3 unique colors, white, black, and gold, with Santa Monica interior. It will feature unique 21-inch Aero Dream wheels and Dream Edition badging. So Lucid Air will be available in a range of versions, and the mainstay of this will be the Lucid Air Grand Touring. Soon after, we'll produce the Lucid Air Touring version, and that will be available for $95,000 upwards. We anticipate, though, in 2022, making a car which is more affordable, the Lucid Air. We start next spring in 2021 with the exquisite limited edition Dream Edition, and that will be available at $169,000 US. For full details of this range of vehicles, please go to our brand new website, which has just become live now. You can reserve immediately for $1,000.
It goes without saying we're all super proud here at Lucid. This is a big day for us, you know, to achieve this and to be able to share Lucid Air with the world. It's been over 5 years of hard work to get to this point. We have an incredible team. We're super proud of Lucid Air and what that vehicle accomplishes. But to be honest, this is just the beginning. All the technologies that have allowed us to reinvent the luxury sedan, our platform, our space concept, all of our components developed entirely in-house, we're going to take exactly that technology and apply it to a complete range of products. We're looking as far as 10 years into the future, and what we have going on here, I think, will amaze you.
What really excites me is how we can use these technological breakthroughs to benefit more cost-effective, more energy-efficient cars in the future. We're currently about 17% more efficient than the closest competitor, and that can be used to achieve the same range as that competitor with 17% smaller battery pack, which has a multiplier effect on the car. It's akin to a 20% cost saving in batteries implementable today without the cost of industrialization. Another way of looking at it, the 17% extra efficiency is the equivalent of a 17% step gain in battery energy. And we've achieved that now without the billions that it would take to industrialize that. Lucid's technologies have achieved these breakthroughs, the equivalent of 20% cost saving in batteries or 17% energy breakthrough. They've achieved them today, and we're putting that into production with Lucid Air early 21. I think it's really important we approach this task with a healthy dose of humility. And I tell the team every day that until we've got Lucid Air in production in Casa Grande next spring, we really haven't achieved a thing. It's also important that we look ahead at the future of the company. And I see 3 areas where Lucid can make a real difference. First is our cars. Secondly is our technologies. And the third is our technology in others' cars. Taking our cars, we start with Lucid Air Dream Edition. And there's going to be a beguiling range of products which follow that. We have a 10-year plan. They will all feature the highest EV technology on the planet. That is the very DNA of Lucid. Then we look at our technologies. We've transformed the world of electric racing with our battery pack, which is used by all the competitors on the grid in a world championship. That pack enables the full race distance to be achieved with a single charge. This was unprecedented. Nobody believed this was possible just a year or 2 ago. Also, we have our first ESS static energy storage system here in this building, our very first prototype. And what really excites me about this is that our battery packs are made for cost-effective mass production. We can use the same technologies from our car into our static energy storage systems, and then achieve an economy of scale which feeds back to the car. This is going to be huge for us. And then finally, look at our most advanced technology, making that available to other automakers, because time is of the essence. We can't wait. The world needs to move to sustainable mobility as soon as possible. So thanks everyone for tuning in and allowing us to share with you the fruits of labors. But we have one more glimpse of the future that I would like to share with you.
One more thing.
So I'd like to introduce Project Gravity.
Or Project Gravity. A little much. Ooh, Q&A. Awesome. All right, so in between, oh gosh. Something happened there. Hold, please. Just gotta get this back in position. Alright, let's see. What do you guys think? I personally... It was tough to catch all of it. I was trying to keep track of the chats and get some of those posted up on the screen. So I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch this to see if I missed anything. Did they mention anything about production? Let me know in the chat if they said anything about production. That's probably the biggest question mark at this point in time. I know they said they're going to start production in early 2021, and it looks like from the videos inside their factory that they definitely have some things up and running so far. But overall, I think it's going to be a good car. I think they'll probably be able to sell as many as they can produce, which is, at that price point, I'm sure their production targets aren't that high.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the live portion of our global reveal. My name is Brian.
It's a little quiet.
I'm coming to you from our headquarters in California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us for this amazing moment in the history of our company.
That's as loud as I can get it.
This is a story that we've been eager to tell for some time, and we're excited to continue the dialogue with you. Joining me on stage are 5 of our senior leaders, supported by over 1,400 Lucid team members who have worked so hard to make today possible. Joining us online are reservation holders, fans, and media from around the globe. We're going to take questions from this global audience, as well as from a few members of the press who have joined us here in person in a socially distant manner. So let's go ahead and get started with that first question. So Peter, it's been a long journey. We've been waiting for this day for a while. How do you feel? What's your reaction?
Well, firstly, Brian, it's a great privilege and an honor to join thousands and thousands of viewers from around the world. And wherever you are, thank you for your time and your interest in this project, which has been a labor of love for the team. Some of you are dialing in from the middle of the night, and it's great that you can join us. I think today, 9th of September 2020, is a landmark. It's an alignment of many stars. First of all, it's the 170th anniversary of the founding of our state here in California. It's also World EV Day. I'd like to say that we'd planned all this around the standing quarter-mile time, the 9.9 seconds of our car. Maybe we did do that. Maybe that's an exaggeration. I think for the entire team, this is a moment of pride and time to reflect upon so many years of damn hard work to get us this far. But for me, I feel it's another step on the ladder, a step on this journey. And I won't rest, I won't celebrate until we've got cars out of that factory in Arizona into the hands of customers who appreciate, enjoy this product.
Peter, now that we've shared the Lucid Air and the technological breakthroughs in the EV industry, can you talk a little bit about what you feel are the major achievements that we've made and contributed?
Sure. I think the big achievement for me is the whole concept and layout of the car. Designing a car is about three-dimensional package. That's how we design and lay out a car. And for the best part of a century, a car has been designed around a gasoline power plant and layout. This space concept that we've created is truly revolutionary. It's been designed around the potency, the potential of a true miniaturized electric powertrain, taking that to a level that's never been done before. We have a car which is more compact, more agile, and eminently more usable in an urban environment on the outside. And we couple that with perhaps the ultimate luxury of space. No longer do we need a large barge of a car to accommodate a spacious interior. And how we've been able to achieve that is with our core technology, which has been achieved 100% in-house. And there are three facets to how we've approached that and what that powertrain represents. First of all, you've seen the miniaturization, which has enabled that space concept to be successfully executed. Secondly, we've seen the performance, and by the performance I mean the sheer raw power of this, but something which is more exciting to me, the sheer efficiency of the system. But there's a third, even more exciting facet and dimension to this technology, which is less evident from all we've shown today, and that is that it's designed for mass production, mass industrialization. And that may surprise the audience. We're starting with a relatively high-end product, not super mass-produced, an exclusive product. But it's that future-looking, that future vision, that enables this mass-produced technology to reduce cost, which will enable it to cascade into lower echelons of the market. And this will transform the way mankind mobilizes, and it will make the car, the true EV experience, more accessible to more people.
Thanks, Peter. I think you've really addressed one of James Carter's questions in the World EV Day team about the value of building that car from the ground up. Derek, we talked a lot about the technology, the power, and the range, but there's also a beauty in the design of the sedan. Where did your inspiration come from?
I mean, that's a little bit of a difficult question because it's a lot of different things. You know, we look at a very eclectic range of influences. Certainly, we're inspired by our state here in California of beauty and technology. But I think as we got deeper into the program and understood kind of the packaging, the space concept, the size of the vehicle on the inside versus the outside, aerodynamics became a really driving factor. I know Peter and I both love aircraft and aviation and tried to bring as much of that into the vehicle as possible. Certainly the materials that Sue is always talking about and so focused on, also looking at architecture, design, trying to bring as much into that as possible. The inspiration really comes from a range of places.
Now, Derek, we've talked a lot about the car, but we're also rethinking the relationship with the customer. Help me with that experience.
Yeah, this has been a big focus for us because, let's be honest, I don't want to speak for other people, but I know I don't enjoy car dealerships and car shopping, so we want to make that a better experience. And it really starts online. You know, everybody's digital, everybody's used to transacting online, and so we wanted to give as much a digital experience as possible. But that meant that we needed to dive deeper into the website, talk about our technologies, share our stories of creation, and of course our online configurator. We wanted that to be really immersive and really connect with people digitally, but also give a strong sense of a rendered realism and interaction with the customer. And then when we start to think about our retail experience, again, we want this to be a very a nice place to visit, but it's still casual, it's approachable. If you just want to come and learn more, come and learn more. There's no pressure. And so the next step there is to bring that digital experience into the retail space through our virtual reality platform and engaging that way. And then lastly, if you do end up in a Lucid Air, that digital experience, the user experience, will create a continuity all the way back through all those prior experiences.
And Derek, this configurator is really a world-first technology in this space, right?
Yeah, we worked very hard with our partners. I mean, go check it out. That's all I can say. I'm super proud of it, and it's a great way to share and learn about Lucid Air.
That's fantastic. Sue, now you've put a lot of years of effort into this. There's been a lot of stress, a lot of late nights, I'm sure. How does it feel to now have your work shared with the world?
Well, it feels amazing. I'm super proud of the work. You know, we've had an amazing team of people to work with here, the experts here. It's a real collaboration. Yes, it feels sort of like my own baby, but I know that it took an enormous amount of teamwork and dedication, and just it's really exciting and super proud right now.
So Sue, there was so much attention to detail put into so many parts of the car. What was the first design piece to really come together?
I know I've talked about this before, this idea of when I first came to the studio and met with Derek and then also Peter, and just hearing their vision and this idea of being able to build a car from the ground up. I mean, it's really a designer's dream in so many ways. We didn't have this legacy, and we had this opportunity to build our own legacy. And from a color and material and finished perspective, that being what my group has done here, I just saw such a great opportunity to really lean into sort of that California legacy. And it ended up being a really natural fit. So for me, that seemed like just the perfect spot to begin, and it came very naturally and easy.
All right, now it wasn't all natural and easy. What was the most difficult design aspect to get grounded on and to complete?
Well, there's been a lot of challenges for sure, and I think that's just part of the nature of what we're doing. But one of the, I'd say, biggest challenges has been the cabin rail, which you can see behind me on the exterior of the car. It's a singular piece of aluminum, and to really capture that singular piece in that length and to get the fine sort of crafted quality finish that's on there has taken a lot of energy and a lot of expertise, a lot of support from our suppliers, a lot of support in-house from the engineers. So it wasn't just color and materials wanting to have this finish on it. It took a lot more than sort of a wish and a desire. It really took this sort of collective.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of collaboration across a lot of folks.
Indeed it was, and I'm super proud of it, and it's such an iconic piece of the exterior of the car design.
So let's shift gears a little bit. So Peter, Siddharth, one of our reservation holders, has got a question that I know you've thought a lot about. We're building out a new car in a new facility. How are we going to ensure quality with these initial releases while still building for scale?
Oh, wow, yeah. If you launch a new product, that's always a challenge. If you launch a new vehicle, it's a super freaking challenge, and it's like an earthquake. You have new parts, you have new processes, you have new team members coming in, you have a new factory. Everything is new, and you better be prepared. And we are prepared. We're very well prepared. First of all, we have our Lucid manufacturing leadership team. They are super experienced, and they made several product launches in their career already, in both, in automotive environments and in EV startups. Secondly, we have a brilliant team that we trained over the last year here in California, building our engineering cars here, and they learned everything from the ground up, making their own workbooks and everything like that. And the third element is we don't work in silos. We work in cross-functional teams. So my manufacturing team is working together with Eric's engineering team, with Peter Hasenkamp's supply chain team, working together with the ADAS team, software team. So we're working close together to make that happen. And then finally, we have our Lucid production system, a powerful tool that enables us to make continuous improvement, that enables us to have problem-solving technologies and techniques that we put in there. And also it has a vision and a mission about quality. And then one of the most powerful tools of it is our core value that enables us, that drives a culture of engagement and of passion for quality, for perfection and precision.
That's fantastic. Eric, I'd like to dive into the technology now. We've got a ton of questions online about charging. We know that this is one of those key questions that gas-powered owners continue to sit with. I think Peter referred to it as a sort of range doubt or range concern. Why did we choose a 900-volt architecture?
Range anxiety?
And what are our long-term charging infrastructure plans?
Well, first of all, to reduce the amount of times a customer actually needs to go to charge, Lucid Air comes with over 500 miles of range on a single charge. Our world-leading efficiency of above 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour makes charging faster and also reduces the cost of a mile driven. Our charging strategy has been first and foremost designed with the customer in mind. And it's intended to provide convenient access to really fast charging. Our 900 plus high voltage architecture enables us, amongst other benefits,
all right, I'm getting a little bored here too, so I'm going to flip over to their website. We'll keep the audio going there, hopefully.
Charging infrastructure out there.
Do it live, see what happens.
And with that, we can achieve 300 miles of range in just 20 minutes. With our partner, Electrify America, we are providing access to and 3 years of unlimited free charging on the nation's largest and continuously growing high-power charging network. With our combo socket and our Wunderbox inside the Lucid Air, we are compatible with a vast number of third-party chargers, including Heritage 400-volt infrastructure.
That's awesome. Let me come back now on a question that I know a number of folks have had around climate. The global conversation around climate change, we've seen extreme weather here on the West Coast. Right now we've got heat waves, we've got wildfires, we've had droughts and rolling blackouts from some of the utilities. How has this influenced some of our thinking?
Well, the Lucid Air with its Wunderbox is perfectly prepared for such events. Not only can we charge the car with it, we can also use the battery inside the car to power your home and keep the lights on. And maybe in combination with our stationary storage systems or our home battery systems. So we believe that vehicle-to-grid applications are the next major step towards sustainable transportation and a significantly more efficient use of our energy resources.
Now, Eric, Wunderbox, where did this name come from?
There seem to be some Germanic genes.
The most important question.
All right, we'll come back on that. Peter, I'd like to talk to you about pricing. Pricing is always a topic of conversation, and as a luxury sedan, how did we arrive at your pricing and some of the models?
Well, Lucid Air will be available from under $80,000, and that Air model will be available in 2022. Before that, and moving up the range, the Lucid Air Touring will be available in late 21 from $95,000 US. And the range topping Lucid Air Grand Touring will be available mid 21 from $139,000 US. But of course, we start with, unashamedly, the car I love, the Dream Edition, which is right here behind us, because it's got that mid-range punch, it's got the 1,000 horsepower, the 9.9 seconds, don't forget that, Brian, and incredible range. There isn't a car in the market quite like it for triple the price. I think it's actually a snip at $169,000.
Now, Peter, is there any truth
So that top-of-the-line Dream Edition has a range of up to 503 miles.
With our date?
So the 517 is actually the Grand Touring.
It's a happy coincidence,
all
which
right.
Sometimes we create.
All right, very good. Derek, the Lucid Air is now launched, and as we've always kind of held as a motto here, we're continuing to look forward.
Spring,
we got to see a quick
late.
glimpse of the Project Gravity, the SUV. How do you see it and some of the future models helping to evolve and advance what we've already brought to market in the Air?
Yeah, I mean, Peter's talked about the space concept and how important that's been to Lucid Air, and it's really defined the product, but we're not just launching a car, we're launching a brand, right? And the first product helps define that, but the second and the third and the fourth have to elevate that even further. So we're really taking a deep look at the architecture, applying that to Project Gravity, and making sure that that has all the values and the incredible experience and really takes SUV crossover space to the next level, much the way Lucid Air has for the sedan. But we're also looking at a broader range of products 7 to 10 years out. What else can we do with this amazing technology, with this incredible platform, the versatility, the performance, the space? There's a whole range of product possibilities there. And so we're currently exploring that. And I'm super excited with what the team's been coming up with.
That's right. I'm excited to see the Gravity in my garage in the next couple of years.
You and me both.
Sue, we talk about innovation, and whenever we talk about innovation, sustainability is always aligned with that these days. How do we think about the current topics in the world and materials influencing some of our choices when we think about sustainability?
Well, it's a subject we talk about a lot here. I don't think you can build an EV without incorporating sustainable materials. We know that our market is already partaking in that in their own personal lives, whether that's through shopping through organics and local shopping and buying materials that are healthier for fashion, less disposable clothing. There's a lot of things happening on this topic. And from our perspective, of course, we want to use sustainable materials, and we are using sustainable materials. It's a personal passion of mine, as well as it is here at Lucid. And we're looking at materials such as, we have a beautiful textile in our interior. It's a combination of wool.
All right, guys, I think I'm gonna go
recyclable polyester.
Give some thoughts here. So I think that mutes that. Can somebody just let me know if the audio is now off? They were losing me in the Q&A. No more. Well, it's off. Okay. I'm going to give some thoughts here. So, as I said earlier, I'm going to need to rewatch it just to see what points they may have addressed that I may have missed when looking at the comments and things like that, trying to get all that up and running. Obviously, they are following a similar path as Tesla has followed in terms of the business model, starting on the high end, working their way down. I don't think I fully realized how much ambition they seem to have had or are going to have going forward about expanding into mass market. I don't think I fully realized that. Sorry, some weird audio going over there. Let's see. All right, that's fixed now. I don't think I realized fully how ambitious they are in terms of trying to get back to that. There we go. Trying to get back to that, or trying to get to that full market. So I like that the Air is going to eventually start under $80,000. That's pretty impressive to me. Obviously, we still need to kind of wait and see what the stats on that are going to be. But I have no problem with them starting at $170,000 for the Dream Edition. I think that's a smart move. They're going to take advantage of, not take advantage of, but they're going to capitalize on the available market in that price point as they start out. No different than Tesla does when they start off by selling a performance version of their vehicle. You know, they start off with the Model Y, the performance version, that's 70,000, but over time they're going to work that down to 40,000. That's no different than the strategy here for the Lucid Air. Starting at 170, working down to 140, working down to a 95, working down to below 80. And then I think they're probably going to follow sort of that same path with the Gravity. So personally, I have no problem with that. I think that's a great strategy. If they were to start out trying to be too low of a price point, they're just going to have too much trouble getting to profitability and trying to scale. It takes, you know, in some cases it can take a decade for them to get up to a proper scale. That's what we've seen from Tesla. Lucid, fortunately and unfortunately, Tesla has come before them. So Lucid can sort of take what Tesla has done and they can learn from that and leverage some of the supply chain that already exists, and they can use that to grow potentially more quickly than what Tesla was able to grow for the last decade. I'm saying potentially. That's obviously a lofty goal. But because Tesla has come before them, that's a possibility to take some of the learnings from Tesla. The other thing I would say is that because Tesla exists, they have a more difficult time because they're not the only real somewhat competitive electric vehicle player in the market right now. They have to actually compete with Tesla themselves, versus Tesla coming before them did not actually have to compete with Tesla. So it's a much different ballpark now, playing field for Lucid than it was for Tesla when Tesla was coming. Aside from that, I mean, I like the car. I think the interior, they've focused on the right things. They're differentiating from Tesla there. Tesla is pretty stark and minimalist. Lucid, while still maintaining a little bit of that minimalistic feel, is definitely more focused on the luxury elements. They highlighted that time and time again throughout this presentation. So I think that's a smart move by them to capture that segment of the market. I've had plenty of conversations with people that literally just won't buy a Tesla, even if they think it is the best powertrain, the best car, because they don't like the feel of the seats or they don't like how the dash looks, like simple things like this, because they are more comfortable with the Mercedes type of interior experience. And that's what Lucid seems to be going after here, which again, I think is a great differentiator for them. The big remaining questions for me are autonomy and production. I think these are pretty obvious. Production, they didn't really say much aside from start of production, at least that I caught. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see on that. But obviously they do have ambitions to grow pretty significantly if they're going to start under $80,000. And then they said they want to grow even beyond that. They also mentioned something really interesting there, which was that they do aspire to eventually become a supplier for others. I've talked a lot about how I don't think that's really a big part of Tesla's plans. We'll have to see if something's, if that ends up transpiring. Elon has said that they're definitely open to it. I'm a little bit more skeptical that it'll ever make sense, because then Tesla's going to have to end up sharing. If Tesla is a supplier versus just bringing their products to market directly, there's going to be that middleman margin, which is going to end up costing the final customer more. So for me, it doesn't make a ton of sense for Tesla to do that unless there are things that Tesla can supply that they are not supply constrained on. So I don't see batteries being in that category very often, to the point where it'd make Tesla to supply a full powertrain or something like that. So that's kind of why I don't see it for Tesla. But Lucid, I don't know if they're as concerned with the final price that the customer is paying. They're probably operating more like a traditional business where they're just trying to, extract as much profit from the market as they can. That's maybe a little bit presumptuous at this point. I'm sure we'll probably see some sort of blend between Tesla, where they're really just focused on, the mission statement of accelerating the advent of sustainable transportation versus, more profit-focused mission statement. I'm going to bet that Lucid ends up somewhere in the middle of those two, which in that case may open them up a little bit more for a supplier role. So we'll see on that. And then, autonomy. So I think on autonomy, I was trying to look on their website a little bit there. It looks like they're going to target a level 3 system, which a level 3 system, I would have to double check because I don't have my SAE levels down pat, but I know level 4 is basically hands-off geofenced, that the car can control anything. I think level 3 is the car can basically take over and be responsible for the driving. It just needs to give you an alert if you need to pay attention and need to regain control. I believe that's level 3. So it does look like they do have some aspirations here in autonomy, and I'm sure over time would hope to develop that into a more robust level 4 or level 5 type of system. I think they mentioned LiDAR, though I didn't necessarily catch all of that part in there. So overall, I think this is going to be, there are shades of Faraday future. If any of you were listening to the podcast back when all that was happening, I never bought into Faraday because they were way too focused on the marketing and the hype and stuff like that. There's a little bit of that in here with Lucid, but not nearly to the extent that we saw with Faraday Future. I don't get those same vibes from the company. It was a little scripted. I would have liked it to be a little bit more off the cuff. At least they did do a little bit of the Q&A there, and maybe, that's still going on. Maybe that's getting a little bit less scripted as they go. I would imagine it probably is. I prefer Tesla's sort of presentation style, where they're kind of just coming out and saying like, hey, here's what we've got. If you like it, you like it. They're not spending tons of money putting something like this together, even though obviously at this point they can easily afford that. But for a company like Lucid, they're obviously spending a ton on marketing right now, and I don't know that they really need to do that yet. I think this product is a pretty good product. They could probably let this speak for itself, but overall in the cost structure of their business, I'm sure it's a relatively minor expense, so I'm not going to be too hard on them for that. And again, I don't think it's nearly the extent of Faraday Future. Like that, you could watch and just be like, okay, this is a joke. They're trying to get funding and don't really have anything to offer. Lucid is much further along than Faraday Future was, and I think even though this was marketing heavy, I think they have been relatively reserved so far in terms of the marketing that they've done. I think now they're just ready to get to that point where they're, looking for reservations, starting to ramp up production here pretty soon, and trying to convert on sales, which is, I can't fault them for focusing on marketing at that point in time. So I wish Lucid all the best. I definitely think they're one to watch. It seems like they've got some really good battery technology. It seems like they've got some unique things with the design of their vehicle. They're probably playing in a niche that Tesla's not necessarily as focused on, catering more to that luxury market. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of partnership attempts. We obviously had the Nikola news with GM earlier this week. I wouldn't be shocked if, Lucid is receiving offers from other OEMs to try to partner, to try to capitalize on some of this technology that they have. But I think in terms of Tesla, what it comes down to now is battery day. I mean, is Tesla going to be able to deliver a Model S that's got more than 500 miles of range? Obviously, they have the technology to be able to do that. But at what price, and what are the specifications? Can they beat Lucid in that 9.9 second quarter mile? Things like this, I think this sort of raises the competitive bar, even if it is coming in at a higher price point. And I think Elon definitely is one that wants to have the best spec EV. So I think from that perspective, this is a good thing, and it's going to try to push Tesla a little bit more on those top of the line vehicles. Maybe it'll accelerate the Roadster program a little bit, which, we don't want to detract from the focus in other areas, but I think it's good for the healthy competition. And I think, we should see a nice response here from Tesla, and hopefully some of that response happens at Battery Day. So I think those are most of my concluding thoughts. I've been getting some super chats here, so let me just go back here, put a couple up on screen as I'm scrolling through, see if anybody has any questions, and then I'll try to maybe answer a couple if people have some, and then we'll hop off because this has gone quite a bit longer than I thought. Let me know in general what you guys thought about the live stream, though. Maybe even just post a comment on the actual comment section on YouTube so I can get a feel. This is obviously the first time we've done something like this. So we're just going to have to, I kind of enjoyed it. It was fun sort of hanging out. A lot of these companies disable the live chats, so I don't really love that move personally. So if we can have live chats over here, then I guess all the better for us. Sorry for the ums. As I said, part of the reason I do the podcast is to become a better speaker. I guess while I'm looking through these, what do you think of their smaller drive unit size? That was when they were talking about the capability of fitting basically 1 through 3 motors in there, I believe. I'll have to go back and watch that part to get a little bit more detail. I feel like they're not going to be able to do much better than what Tesla would be able to do in that area, in the drive unit area. Seems like Tesla's had a long time to sort of hone in on that. But yeah, if they can make it smaller and more power dense, all the better to them. Let's see. Live commentary would have been cool. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't want to talk over their presentation. I was thinking there might be a little bit more gap in audio at points where I could chime in with a couple of thoughts. But obviously with a scripted presentation like this, not a lot of opportunity to do that. When can we join your channel? Like a call-in? We could work on that. In terms of join, everyone should subscribe. I mean, that's the best way to join. Trunk. What do I think of the trunk? Trunk looks cool. The frunk looks cool. I kind of laughed at the double decker frunk thing, but they've definitely got a lot of space in there. Probably in part because of those drive units being the size they are. I don't view this as being a threat to Tesla by any means. Obviously, Tesla's got a ton of different advantages. Tesla's already at scale. Tesla can already sell electric vehicles for under $80,000. You know, they can sell them for half of that, and they can make a profit doing that. So this isn't a Tesla competitor. This is an electric vehicle entrant into the market. You know, I think this is going to compete with the high-end Mercedes, the high-end Audis, things like that. This is, you know, it's going to take away maybe a few sales from the Model S and from the Model X. We'll see what the updates there are. But that's okay. Tesla doesn't need those sales anymore. Their business is not relying on the profit, the cash flow from the S and the X, especially now that the Model Y is up and should be at pretty good scale here this quarter or next. And then as Tesla gets the Cybertruck up and running, even less so does something like the Model S matter. I still hope Tesla puts a lot of focus into it, and I think it's a good way for them to bring in new technology, and I would like them to actually see them start playing in the higher price points than they are with the Model S. You know, at times we've seen the Model S be a $150,000 vehicle, and I think now the tops out at about 110. I would love to see Tesla push, you know, creature comforts in the interior that have an 80% margin that no one really needs. Tesla could play around with some things like that and have a little bit of fun. I know it's maybe taking away from some of their focus elsewhere, and it's definitely shouldn't be the priority of the business, but you know, Tesla with the Model X, Elon's focus at that time was, okay, let's build a car or an SUV that's 10 times better than anything the world has ever seen before. And obviously that led to a feature overdevelopment, but I think Tesla learned a lot from going through that experience. And now, you know, we don't see as much of that from Tesla anymore, for good reason. The Model X was kind of a painful experience for Tesla, but I think, again, through that pain, you know, you learn and you can push the boundaries. And as you do that, you know, maybe you come up with something that can apply in sort of a mass scale. So that's sort of how I'd like to see the Model S and X business lines sort of evolve back to. I don't really care whether they're at 50,000 a year or 100,000 a year. Again, it's not going to be material to Tesla's financials going forward. But what they can do with those products is, you know, test things out, really try to get back to that goal of delivering, you know, the coolest car, the funnest car possible. And I think the Model X had a lot of features that did that, like the automatically opening and closing doors. Like, that's a really cool feature. And that's something you just, you know, we don't really see in general the automotive industry pushing for things like that. And as Tesla becomes more focused on their mission, which they should be, of getting electric vehicles to become more affordable, I think we lose a little bit of that, and it's kind of sad. But I don't know, that's probably too long on that point of view. I got time for maybe a couple more questions in here if we've got them. Thanks for the super chat. I always appreciate those. I always appreciate the support on Patreon. You guys have been awesome. Like, I'm so lucky to be able to do this. Hopefully it's great for you guys. It's great for me. And again, I hope this is just a really small beginning of what this can eventually become. Would I invest in Lucid right now? I'd consider it. I mean, I definitely would consider it. It all would depend on the valuation. I'm sure after today, they're going to be, you know, 10 billion-ish. I wouldn't be surprised at that sort of a valuation, which is pretty high for a pre-revenue company. But look at, you know, Nikola, they're pre-revenue too, and they're at 15 billion. I definitely like the business model of Lucid a lot more than Nikola. So it wouldn't surprise me at that valuation. At 10 billion, I don't know if I'd invest. Maybe a small amount. It's tough for me to invest in something that's not Tesla. I just have so much confidence in Tesla, and I think the upside is still so immense, even at the $350 billion market cap. So yeah, I don't know if I'd invest. I'd consider it though. I'd also consider XPeng. You know, I think they're around 13 billion right now. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on their business. I think I did a 15-minute episode on that if you want to check that out. They're interesting. You know, they're definitely 100% Tesla copycat, but that's sort of the mission of Tesla, right? Tesla originally intended to be a proof of concept, and no one acted on that, so Tesla had to act on it themselves. But we shouldn't be mad at someone for, sort of copying Tesla's business model. Sure, they shouldn't hire away engineers and try and steal Tesla's intellectual property. That's not at all what I'm saying. But if they're trying to emulate the business model, start with that luxury vehicle, work their way down, nobody should have any problem with that. That's what Tesla tried to inspire people to do. Would I invest in NIO? I don't know enough about NIO yet. I did a deep dive on XPeng. I haven't done a deep dive on NIO. I did not originally like them very much. Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate that. It's awesome. I didn't originally like NIO that much because they didn't even turn a gross profit on their vehicle. So even before factoring in all the operating expenses, which for NIO are actually pretty significant, I believe they own their own stores. Otherwise, they partner with them, but those stores are really heavily developed. There's a lot of focus, sort of got those Faraday Future vibes. There was a lot of focus on that in-store experience and things that, don't necessarily matter all that much when it comes down to the end of the day, the value of the car. So I kind of ignored NIO for a while, but I think they've now become profitable from a gross profit perspective. So I need to sort of revisit my analysis on NIO. I know a lot of people like them. There are a lot of people that invest in Tesla that invest in NIO as well. And then I think Li Auto is another startup out of China. I don't know as much about them. I think they just came public, so I definitely need to do a little bit more work on that as well. Rob, can I work for you? Honestly, maybe. As this continues to grow, I definitely am going to need people. At some point, I'll probably have some things available that I need help with. So for that, when I need help, I'll just announce that on Twitter. So if you're interested in something like that, you can either email me at tesladailypodcast@gmail.com if you feel like there's something that I'm not doing that you could help me do. I would love that. Email me. Otherwise, just keep an eye out on Twitter. NIO accounting difficult. All right, guys and ladies. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm liking the live streaming though. I hope you guys are too. Again, let me know in the comments, the actual comments. It's hard to keep track of everything on the live chat. I do my best. But yeah, otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll keep doing more of the live streams. I think this was pretty fun, but again, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Bye.